Hello, friends. Happy Wednesday. And I am so happy to be back with you today live. It's been a few weeks since we've been together live. My name is Noreen Smith. I'm the Product Development Creative Manager for Creative Memories. And it's my pleasure to be with you each and every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Central Time, for our Fast and Fun projects with Noreen. So again, as I mentioned, it's been a few weeks since we've been together live. Thank you for all of your kind words last week. I had posted a pre-recorded Fast and Fun projects because I was a little bit under the weather. I wasn't feeling too bad, but every once in a while I would get that terrible cough and it would just come out of nowhere. So I've got lots of gals joining me here today. There's Suzanne from Ottawa, Jody from Australia, Gwen from North Carolina. Hi, Gwen. And hi to Jerry Lynn from Central Florida. And then I see Judy in Boston. It looks like Judy's joining us from our Facebook group in the Virtual Crop Facebook group. And then some of you are joining us on YouTube. So again, just always that reminder, if you're on Facebook, make sure you head over to the Creative Memories YouTube channel and make sure you like and subscribe there. Hit the little bell icon so that you get all of the notifications when we're live. And then if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you go and request to join the Creative Memories Virtual Crop Facebook group. There's so many parts of that name, I always get it mixed up. But yeah, make sure that you join the Virtual Crop group because there's so many good things going on. And of course, we have a virtual crop coming up very soon. So that is exciting. So many good new things for 2023. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Pam. Pam's saying she's glad that I'm better. I'm glad to be back, I tell you. So hello, everyone. There's Terry from Myrtle Beach, Sharon from BC, Lisa from California. Welcome, everybody. Well, today I thought that we'd kind of talk a little bit about Fast2Fabs because I know that many of us have a New Year's resolution to complete more pages, to complete more albums, right? That's one of our, of course, we love scrapbooking as a hobby. We love getting together. We love, spending time with our friends who do the same thing. But of course, the end goal of scrapbooking is to preserve our memories, to get them into albums, to share them with family and friends, and to have them, for time to come so that we can look back on the stories, the events, the occasions, all of that. So many of us at the beginning of January set some kind of resolution to complete certain projects, a certain amount of pages, or even a certain amount of albums. And if that's one of your goals this year, I really want you to consider or reconsider Fast2Fab albums and Fast2Fab refill pages. Because, I kind of think they're a secret weapon for a lot of us scrapbookers. And if you are a new scrapbooker, they may be familiar to you because maybe you have a CM advisor who, introduced them to you and said, this is a great way to get photos onto your pages. But if you're, kind of a veteran scrapbooker, or if you've been with CM a long time, it might be something you feel like, you don't do that anymore. So I kind of challenge you to think about why you don't turn to Fast2Fabs. And if you do, of course, share why you love Fast2Fabs. So I'd love to see in the comments there if you're a Fast2Fab user and why you love them, okay? But yeah, so I thought it would be a great time to kind of have that fresh focus on Fast2Fabs, what they are, for those of you who don't know, why we should use them and how we should use them. And then I have actually 10 tips, for when you're actually working in your Fast2Fab albums with your Fast2Fab refill pages that might help you, make a convert out of you, so to speak, about using the Fast2Fab pages. Okay? So I hope that sounds good. And again, don't forget to put in the comments if you use them currently, and if you do, why you love them so much, okay? And I've got my water here just in case I have a coughing attack, but fingers crossed, we will get through this. And I know myself that I should really slow down because it's when I start getting excited and I keep talking quicker and quicker that my throat, I can feel it close up. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit. I'm going to turn you over. But actually, before I turn you over to what's on my table, I'm actually going to turn you over to my computer because I've got just a kind of a screenshot of all of the Fast2Fab pages here that are on the website. So let's go ahead and turn it over to my computer here first. And when you go on to the Creative Memories website, of course, you want to look for the shop. Let me see if I can do this here. It's not letting me show my cursor, I don't think, but yeah, there we go. So you want to go into shop and then you want to choose the Fast2Fab pre-designed refill pages with protectors. And that will bring you to this page. And I think I showed this at the end of my video, but you can see how many pages and how many variety of different styles of Fast2Fab refill pages we currently have. So there's bound to be a collection, a colorway, a style, a theme, an occasion that will work for you. Okay, so that's definitely something to think about. Now let's take a look at this beautiful new catalog because one of the things that you'll notice about this year's catalog is, of course, its size. It's just a phenomenal resource, really. We've got these fun little pockets inside here for you to, slip any of your inspiration or additional, what's new flyers or price lists, that kind of thing in. But in here, as we go through, there's a couple of things I want to point out about Fast2Fabs. First of all, down here on page 14, there's just a little overview of Fast2Fabs, but there's a QR code here. And if you take your smartphone, open the camera app and aim it at this little QR code, you can click on the link that will pop up. And there's a little video there that I did to talk about more of these Fast2Fab albums. So don't forget to have a look there. Okay, but as you start going into the actual collections, you'll see that many of them will list that there is Fast2Fab. So here's the seasonal sightings. You kind of get an overview of what the collection looks at. And then when you look down here, it will also tell you there's a seasonal sightings Fast2Fab bundle, album, and refill pages. So as you go through here, notice how many of these collections in the catalog have Fast2Fab pages. And one other thing that I'm going to point out, and this is worth getting the catalog alone for, this is a kind of a coordinating collections resource. So if you are working with a specific collection, you can quickly see what other collections will work with it. So I'm going to be playing with the new Tropic Time Fast2Fab album today. So I would go down here to Tropic Time. I could see what coordinating cardstock there is, but more importantly, I can also see other coordinating collections. So I know that Boho Escape, Totally Tonal, Island Waters, Leave Nothing Behind, Sunrays for Days, and Summertime will work with those. And I can actually mix and match some of my Fast2Fab pages. So I can look and see, okay, Boho Escape. Where was Boho Escape? Let me have a quick look here. It was a little ways away, so let's see if it's showing. It's not, but I can go and look and see if there's Boho Escape Fast2Fab pages as well. And then I can even mix and match those. So I think that resource of having the coordinating cardstock, the coordinating collections, and even having that book cloth overview, that's going to make your catalog indispensable. You're going to want to keep it for the entire year. There's a question there about the catalog. Now, if you are an advisor, of course, or if you have an advisor, you can ask your advisor, but you can purchase the catalog right online. So you can order yourself a catalog if you don't have one, and then keep it all year. Use it as a reference. Okay, so we've established that I'm going to use the Tropic Time. There's a variety of Fast2Fab pages, but what are the actual Fast2Fabs? So I want to hold on to this, and I'm just going to open kind of randomly here. And we call them Fast2Fab Refill Pages because they're exactly the same as our plain refill pages. So again, our plain refill pages come in white, black, natural, and Spargo. And they have the little jeeped, the staples at the inner edge, and they're jeeped on both sides, and they fit into all of our albums. So the refill pages, as you can see, are plain, and then the Fast2Fab refill pages are pre-decorated or pre-designed. So I'm just going to flip through a few of these, and you can see that they all coordinate with the beautiful Tropic Time collection. Some of them have borders across the top, bottom. Some of them have borders along the sides. All different kinds of patterns and combinations that coordinate with the Tropic Time collection. So it makes it super easy. And many of us will start with these pages and then add in some other things. But I'm here to tell you that you can just kind of go back to basics with these and really think about how you can use them as your main pages. Okay? So that's what they are. Let's talk about why you should use them. So I have just a refill page here, and it's got 4 photos on it and 1 embellishment. And this is just a plain white refill page. And that looks great. And you know, if you had your pages like this in your album, you do a little bit of journaling on there, your albums are going to look just wonderful, and people are going to enjoy flipping through them. But here I have the exact same 4 photos and the exact same embellishment on a Fast2Fab page. It didn't take me any longer to print off my photos, to trim these 2 photos down to 4x4, to adhere them onto the page in pretty much the exact same location, the exact same orientation, and then to add that single embellishment in the middle there. And look at what a difference it makes, right? Now, again, looks good, but doesn't this look fabulous? So I hope that if you haven't seen Fast2Fabs before, you get the idea that it's the same process, it's the same, steps to create a page, but you're getting so much more by using these Fast2Fab pages. Okay, so that's one of the reasons I think that you would really enjoy using them. Now, remember in the catalog, I mentioned that when you click on this QR code in the catalog, I have a little video there talking about Fast2Fabs. And I also talk about the fact that besides being fast, they are versatile. So we're going to get into how versatile they are in just a minute. But I'm also going to remind you how economical they are. So when you purchase your album cover and a set of plain pages, it's about the same price as purchasing your album cover and a set of the Fast2Fab pre-decorated pages. And if you then, choose to get some embellishments, you would be using the same embellishments no matter which pages you use. But if you decide that this looks a little plain and you want to get some additional products to use on those pages, then of course you're going to be paying more. And one of the things that I really love is that when we have the Fast2Fab bundles, you get the album, comes preloaded with the Fast2Fab pages. You get a package of the coordinating embellishments. You get your dual tip pen for journaling, and you get your tape runner. So I'm just grabbing it there. So, and that comes at a discounted price. So you actually even save a little bit by purchasing a Fast2Fab bundle. So fast, versatile, and economical. And I don't think you can get much better than that. So I hope I've convinced you kind of why you might want to try them. Let's talk now and spend some time thinking about how to use them. Because even though they're pre-decorated, you can still have that fear of kind of the blank page. So I want to talk about a few different tools and a few different tips that you can use when you're, starting one of your Fast2Fab albums. Okay? So, first of all, I want to think about sorting your pages before you actually even get started. I'm going to think about it in this way. This is how the album came. So this was the very first page. I could jump in and just, keep going here. Let me just move my stuff out of the way here. I'll talk about those in a minute. I could just keep going and just add my pages or my photos to each of the pages in the order that they, are in. But I can also, of course, take these pages out and rearrange them. So as you're planning your album, the first tip I have for you is to kind of sort your pages while you're sorting your photos. In this case, with a vacation style album, you might want to tackle it, with a title page, and then, maybe getting ready for the trip, and then what you did first on the trip. You might want to tackle it in that chronological way. So take a minute and look and see if the order that the pages are in is going to work with the photos that you want to use. So, for example, if you've taken, again, a beach vacation and maybe some of the pages have, tropical floral on them versus kind of sandy colors, maybe you want to switch those out. So you can rearrange the pages and determine the order that you want them to go in while you're sorting and organizing your photos. Okay, so that's my first tip. Sort your pages before you get started. All right, then my second tip is really about getting over the fear of the blank page. So as I've got some photos here that, we're going to use in a variety of different ways, but you can really literally throw them down in whatever sort of order you want. And that would be fine. That will get your pictures done and they're on the pages, and done is always better than perfect, right? But if you want your pages to look a certain way, if you're worried about sticking your pages down, I've got a couple of suggestions to try. So one of them is to use the Photo Mat stencil set. It's a set of 3 reusable stencils, and that might help take some of the worry or the fear of the blank page away. So you can see on this one that there are 4 spots. So when I put them down here on my page, I can look and sort of say, okay, if I arranged my photos according to this stencil, this might be one of my options. So I'm just kind of arranging them there, and then I could adhere them and pull them off. And then my photos would be in a really nice and organized sort of layout or photo arrangement. Okay, so that's one thing that you might want to consider. And again, these are 3 different stencils. You can certainly move them around, turn them around. This one, for example, I can use with, 2 horizontal photos and a vertical. But if I have, 2 verticals and a horizontal, I can move it around and then change up the way I'm organizing my photos. Okay, so consider, if you have a hard time looking at that blank page, consider the Photo Mat stencil set. And I do want to point out that, of course, this is a great tool to have even for your regular pages, white, black, any color, or if you scrapbook onto a sheet of, maybe a neutral tone on tone designer paper. Okay, so that's my first sort of tip for arranging. But there's something that I've been doing for many, many years. And if you were wondering what we're going to use scrap cardstock for today, it's just to make these little handy dandy templates that you can use and arrange in whatever way you want. Now, I've been using these for a long time. I always have a bunch of them just sitting by my scrap surface, by wherever I'm scrapbooking. And over the years, I've just taken little scrap pieces of cardstock when I'm finished up a project and I have a little bit left, and I've just cut them into various sizes. And I just kind of mark the size on it. Almost any size that I could think of that I might trim my photos to. So for me, I usually try to stick with 4x6. If I trim my 4x6s down just by a little bit, they might be 3.5 by 5.5. I've got some 4x4s here and even some 3x4s or 4x3s. So with these little, I'm going to switch to a page that has a little bit of a darker background so you can see these in action, so to speak. There we go. So with something like this, I can just look at the photos that I have and sort of say, okay, I'm going to, put one of my large photos down here. And then I can add my 4x4s over here, and then one more large photo. So I can really kind of create my own layout just by using these little pieces of scrap cardstock. And again, they're just made from scraps. You can trim them to any size. If you always like to trim your photos down by 1/4 of an inch, for example, then make some for yourself that are 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then I always just put the opposite, the horizontal and the vertical measurements just for easy reference. So I could come in here and say, you know what, I think I'm going to just move those around really quickly and easily. So I can really sort of plan out what my page will look like before I ever get my photos on the page. And for some of us, that's a big fear. Am I putting my photos in the right place? Now, I always say there's no wrong way to scrapbook. Like I said, getting your photos just on the page, writing down some information about them, that is great. But if you do worry about how it will look in the end, give these little photo templates a try. I've been using them for years. I've been recommending, my customers or my students to use them. So it's a great way to kind of plan ahead. Okay. All right. So that's the second thing. Arrange, kind of however you like. Now, don't worry about going over the edges. So on here, some of us might be worried about, keeping our photos inside, what we see as a big block. Don't worry about getting those photos and kind of overlapping them onto some of these other elements. Okay, you can arrange them however you like, and maybe that will, kind of highlight some of your photos. So don't be fearful that you're placing them wrong. All right, another tip is to try and keep the margins between your photos and the edges or eye lines of your photos even. That creates a really cohesive, a calm sort of feeling. It's very easy on the eye. So if I had, a photo like that, and then one over here, and then it was kind of, a little bit off kilter or something, it didn't look intentional, then my eye sort of looks at a lot of this empty space and says, what is the purpose of that? Whereas if I keep the edges of my photos very similar, right? So that the top edge of these two photos is the same, the side edge of these two photos is the same, and then the space between the photos is very regular. That creates a much more easy on the eye sort of look than if you just have it all kind of over the place. Again, there's no wrong way to scrapbook, but this creates a much more uniform, cohesive look. And this one would give you much more space in between that you could add some embellishments. So I'm always one for kind of opting to block my photos together and to try and maintain that sort of eye line. So I would kind of look across the page, see that both of these photos have the same eye line, and then I could arrange my photos with about the same type of margin in between. And that just really creates that beautiful, cohesive, neat sort of look. Okay? All right. Tip number 5. Add your embellishments, your stickers, those kinds of things after you get your photos on, and journal right on the page. Now, as I mentioned, the dual tip pen that you get when you purchase a Fast2Fab bundle is perfect for journaling, and you can journal right on the page. Now, if it's a dark color like this, you might want to journal in the light areas, or, for many of the pages, they're light in color enough that the black or dark brown will show up. So journaling right on the page will give you the sort of the fastest, start to finish, let me rephrase that. It will help you finish your pages the most quickly, okay? But you can always add in some of the fast variety matte cards. Sorry, I'm getting my words all mixed up here. So you can go ahead and choose the variety matte cards that coordinate with the collection. Some of them are going to be nice and small like this. You can add them in and treat them as you would a photo. So if you're going to add something like that, you're going to want to keep the same kind of margin between those the edges, and you can also try and make sure that the eye lines are the same. So you can play around with how it's best to organize your little mats that you're going to add in there. You can add them into a variety of different places, and most of them, some of them have lines on them, so that might limit you, but most of them, you've got that kind of open space to write in. So I think you'll find that those are quite versatile. Don't forget, you can also kind of tuck these in behind your photos so that you can stop them at the same sort of edge that you have your photos at. So that creates a really nice block and keeps that eye line maintained. And then all you'd have to do is maybe add in, a title, maybe a couple of the flower embellishments. Here's a leaf that could go in there. Just tuck that in behind, and your page is done. So those are really sort of the fastest ways to get your page done. Arrange your photos, no matter how you decide to do it. Keep them nice and organized, and then add in, one or two embellishments and some journaling right on the page, or your coordinating matte cards just for a little extra space to journal. Okay? Now, my 6th tip is that you can certainly go ahead and insert some of those pages that we were talking about before. So, for example, if you've got a bunch of photos that, are part of this sort of event, or maybe this, again, maybe there was a bunch of different things that were happening and they're all kind of together, but you don't want to go on and, kind of use the next page because it doesn't work as well. You can always intersperse or insert another page in between. So maybe you wanted to add a plain refill page, or maybe you want to add another pocket page. And the pocket pages are great with the Fast2Fab albums because they would insert right in between your layout, and you can add up to 10 more photos. Okay, so don't forget about the idea of adding in more pages as you need. Now, if you really didn't like this particular page, maybe you decide, okay, well, these photos have to go on this page because on the next page I've already planned for another event. So you can definitely do some what we call wallpapering. So I have the I have the Tropic Time designer papers. So wallpapering would literally mean, taking a full-size sheet of paper and placing it over top of the page, just like many of us do in our regular, albums. But I challenge you to think about not necessarily wallpapering over the entire page, but using some of what is already there as a bit of an enhancement. So maybe you're just going to you're going to chop that piece off and just add a portion of paper. And maybe that paper now can come over and fill in this side. So instead of wallpapering over with, two full sheets of paper to cover up the part that you didn't like, see if there's some parts of the design that you can salvage and wallpaper over just a small amount. And again, this is something that I think some of you who really like to do chronological scrapbooks will face more than somebody who's just coming in and saying, I like all of the pages. I'm just going to put my photos down wherever they fall. Okay. So yeah, I see a comment right now. Typically use one Fast2Fab pack and one plain refill, and you can't even tell. So again, don't be afraid to add in pages. You can add a second set of the same Fast2Fab pages and mix and match them, or you can add other ones. Remember when we talked about in the catalog that there would be a coordinating collection? So this is Leave Nothing Behind, which again was one of the collections that will coordinate here. So I could come in and say, okay, I quite like this one. It'll give kind of that nice sort of texture that I want here. And I'm just going to add that in, and sort of it coordinates, but it breaks up that color, which maybe I don't love. So think about adding in either the extra refill pages, plain ones, or interspersing them with some of the other Fast2Fabs, or have on hand some of the coordinating paper that you can add strips or wallpaper to. Now, the other thing about those variety map pack cards that I was mentioning earlier that I really love is that they can stand in for a photo. So let's say, I'm going to get that template back that I was using earlier. So let's say that this is the template that I want to use, and I have 1, 2, let's pick one more photo, 3 photos. I only have 3 photos, but I really like the way that that looks. So I can go in here and say, I'm going to use one of these variety map pack cards as a little filler. So it's not a photo, but I can treat it in the same way. And I can arrange it on my pages just as I would my photos. So I love that. So really for me, if I'm getting a Fast2Fab album, I'm going to want to have the embellishments and a package of the variety map cards, because I always think that they are great to add in. Now, the other thing about these is these photos look great as is. I'm just placing them directly on the page, but sometimes you might want a little bit more contrast. So there's nothing faster than using some of those variety matte cards to do a little bit of matting, right? That's one of the primary purposes of them. So here I can take some of my large mats. Let's see if I can find another one that's sort of that gold color. And just by doing that, I've really made the same page look quite different. So don't forget that those variety matte pack cards can stand in for a photo in your Fast2Fab album, or of course on a regular layout, but that they can also make quick work out of matting a photo. Okay. And some of them, the designs are so great. They can be a title. They can be, you can cut out little aspects of it. Wouldn't that be a pretty, design to cut out and have as a fussy cut embellishment? I love doing that. Some of them you can cut in half. That again would be a great little title to add in somewhere. So don't forget about those variety matte pack cards. And I usually do bring in the stickers too, because there's just so many great titles and little things that you can add in. Okay. So let me see in my list here. We're up to about 8. So number 9, let's talk about adding some other fun things to our pages. So again, if you are a longtime scrapbooker, you probably have a bunch of different kinds of tools that you love to use. So let me just see here. I'm just flipping through maybe this one. I like that kind of the red coral tones. So again, I may be coming through here and I'm adding in my photos based on whatever arrangement that I want. And you know, that's really pretty, but maybe I decide that I want to do something a little bit extra. So I happen to have my Monstera leaves, I think that's how you pronounce it, Monstra leaves border punch. So I can take those same coordinating papers, see if we can find, I've used a lot of them already, so let me see if I can find a nice green. Yeah, so maybe I'm gonna punch this out of the green. Let's do that really quickly. So this gives you kind of that chance to play with your supplies, your tools, your paper just a little bit, but still have the fast aspect of the Fast2Fab pages. All right, so I just went ahead and punched just one row just to kind of see how this would look. Okay, so if I did nothing else on this page but punch that one border and add it to the page, it just takes it up to that next notch. But how long did that take me? Another 30 seconds or so. And then I can come in, where did I put all of my embellishments? I could come in, you know, with my title, maybe tropical up there and paradise down here. So fast to get these kinds of pages done just by adding that little bit extra. And that's, I guess, what I love about the Fast2Fabs is that they can be as simple or as embellished and extra as you like. Okay. Now, the last tip is sort of not a tip, but a kind of a philosophy. So I'm going to bring you back here to me and take a quick little sip of water here. And I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial to some of you. So if getting your albums done this year is of real importance to you, you may have to consider how you think about the finished product. If it's really important to you to have, you know, the sort of the perfect album, one that has pages that are all different and highly decorated and highly designed, then the Fast2Fab might not be for you. It might not. It still might, because you still can add in those things as we saw. But if your goal is to get the pages and the album complete, the stories told, the memories documented and preserved, then that whole idea of getting, you know, maybe putting photos onto maybe pages that you don't think coordinate perfectly, that might be something that you sort of have to wrestle with yourself. For me, you know, I've got my 2 mottos are: there's no wrong way to scrapbook, and done is better than perfect. And those are the 2 things that I often think. My family and friends are not going to notice the little things that might bother me as I'm going through and creating my albums, right? So if, for example, you know, I was putting the photos down and maybe I didn't love that green Fast2Fab page, right? But just getting my photos down there, adding the story, adding a few cute embellishments, that's going to be so much more important than whether in 5 years I like the color of the green background. So if that's what's holding you back, I sort of am throwing that out there to think about a little bit. Is it more important to have that perfectly matched page, or is it more important to get your story told? So don't send the hate mail. I'm just offering that as something to think about in the grand scheme of your scrapbooking. And again, for a lot of us, it's about the process. I love creating, beautiful, layered, intricate designs on my pages, but I also love doing quick pages. So it really is about how you want to tell your story. But I'm just saying that the Fast2Fab, if those are some of the things that are holding you up about Fast2Fab, think about it and perhaps reconsider. Okay? I encourage you to do that. Okay, so those are my 10 tips. I'm going to review them really quickly. I'm just looking down here at my list. So sort your pages while you're sorting your photos. Sort them, kind of think about what photos are going to work on which pages, and then put them into your album. Arrange your photos any way you like on your page. And a couple of the tools we talked about were the photo mat, and I did just see a comment. Yes, these are still available, and that's why I wanted to show them to you. They are in the recipe templates part of the website. So this is one tool, and this is another super inexpensive tool that you can go, and as soon as you finish watching me here, you can go and make some of these from your scraps right away to help you with your arranging your photos. Okay, the third tip was keep your margins the same. So keep the space between your photos similar, and keep the edges, the eye lines of your photos even. And that will create that really beautiful, cohesive look, a very organized sort of page. Okay, but again, you can arrange them however you like. Don't worry about the borders. That's tip number 4, or the elements that are on the page. Use the whole page. Don't feel constrained by the borders or the decorative elements that are on the page. You can certainly overlap your photos onto those things. Number 5 was journal right on the page. Put your photos down, no mats or anything. Add 1 or 2 embellishments and journal right on the page. Use your handwriting. People are going to want to see that on your pages. So that's the fastest way to get a page done. No mats on your photos, 1 or 2 embellishments, and journal right on the page. Okay? Number 6 was, don't forget that you can insert the extra blank pages, multi-pocket pages, etc. in between your Fast2Fab pages. That's a great look, and it gives a lot of interest and variety. Number 7, wallpaper, either a full sheet or a partial sheet of designer paper that coordinates over the areas that you really dislike. If there's parts of the Fast2Fab pages you don't like, consider adding a little bit extra paper there to cover those up. Number 8 was using those fun mat cards. Don't forget about the mat cards as either replacements for photos to fill in a space. That's when you can choose, the decorative ones. Okay, most of them are two-sided, so you can decide which one works better on your page. But you can add in the decorative ones, use them as a title, use them as a filler when you don't have enough photos. And of course, using the larger ones, either for extra journaling or to place your photo right onto for an easy mat. Let me see if I can get that on. There we go. Okay. Number 9, add your borders punched from or even shapes. I had my Mandavia border punch, or just the shape punch here, as well as the border punch. So you can add those punched shapes very quickly. You don't need a lot of extra paper, and it gives you some of that fun sort of tactile, hands-on paper crafting that a lot of us love to do when we're scrapbooking. Okay, and then number 10, of course, kind of examine your own philosophy about Fast2Fab. What is the important aspect of getting my pages done? Is it getting them documented speedily, quickly for other people to look at? Or is the process of creating the pages maybe a little bit more important to me? So examine your own philosophy about your album creation. Okay? So I think that is it. I will actually go back into the description above the video in the Facebook group, and of course below the video in the on the YouTube channel, and I'll put those 10 quick tips down. And don't forget, if you have your copy of the catalog, make sure to watch that little Fast2Fab video as well. And if you don't have a copy of the catalog, make sure you add that to your next order, because you're going to want to keep that all year long as a big resource. And we'll talk about it more throughout the year. Okay, I'm just scanning my little lists here. I think we've covered so much today about Fast2Fabs, and I hope that that's kind of given you a new reason to kind of go back and look at them with fresh eyes and think about, is this something I can use for my next memory keeping project? Why haven't I used them? Or again, if you love them, share the love, right? Tell other people why you love them so much and encourage others to try them too. You know, encourage your scrappy friends to try them. If you're a CM advisor, encourage customers who are looking to get albums done quickly to try them. Show them examples. Show them some of the things we talked about in the video today to help them understand how to use them in the easiest way and the best way possible. Okay? All right, I think I am good today. All right, so I'm reminding myself that next week is going to be very exciting. I know that those of you who have the catalogs have a lot of questions about the new organizational tools that CM is offering this year. So I'm going to do a little bit of a kind of a show and tell with my own supplies and products. And we're going to talk about each of the new products and some of the old products as well, the older organizational products. My tongue isn't working apparently today. Never mind coughing, my tongue isn't working. But yeah, we're going to take a really good deep dive and conversation into organizing, and not only organizing, but how organizing your supplies can help your scrapbook process. And vice versa, how your process affects your organization and how your organization can affect your process. Okay, so you don't want to miss that. Next week is going to be January 18th, and I'm going to be right back here on the Facebook group, Virtual Crop Facebook group, and on the YouTube channel. So I can't wait to see you then. Until then, have a great week. Have a fresh look at those Fast2Fabs, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. Feel free to post your favorite Fast2Fab pages, and again, add those comments about why you love them, why you want to try them, and any tips that you have for everybody else to use. Okay? All right. Have a great week. We will see you next week, January 18th, 5:00 p.m. Central Time, to get organized. All right. Can't wait to see you there.